Hey y'all, we're back talking about purpose. We've talked about purpose, calling, and assignment and the distinction that I make with my clients between those three things. We've talked about what I call the four circles of purpose and how when those four things converge, beautiful things can happen regarding the sustainability and the longevity and the fulfillment that you find in your purpose. You can check out those videos online to get the scoop on that. Today we're going to talk about preparing for a purpose, preparing for your purpose. Every purpose and its callings require a certain amount of preparation. If I were going to become a doctor, I would need to go to medical school and I'd need to pass my boards. If I were going to pursue that calling, that's what I'd need to do. But there are some aspects of preparation for purpose that are a little less obvious than the educational or expertise or the financial aspects. And one of those less obvious areas is the emotional aspect of preparing for your purpose, the emotional aspect. Every calling takes an emotional toll of some sort on the person fulfilling it. It doesn't matter what the calling is. You may be thinking, Mo, I'm not going into social work, or I'm not called to be a nurse. I'm not even called to be a teacher. I'm not called to be a mental health professional or anything that might be emotionally draining. But there's still an emotional toll that your purpose can take on you. CEOs face different emotional tolls from entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs face different emotional challenges than musicians or actors. Let's take the three examples I just gave you. You may believe that your purpose is going to be fulfilled through a calling of being an entrepreneur. You're a solopreneur. You're going to start your own business of some sort, selling some sort of good or providing some sort of service. That's your calling. You may be thinking, I'm going to do something that's not very emotionally taxing or draining at all. So what's the big deal? Many entrepreneurs experience loneliness. They experience isolation. They have to make all the decisions by themselves. They have to live with the results of those decisions by themselves. They don't have a team of people to bounce ideas off of. And at the end of the day, there is nobody more invested in that business than they are, and the buck stops with them. That can be a very isolating and lonely feeling. So many entrepreneurs, especially those who transition from the corporate world and are used to having a team or colleagues or coworkers, go into entrepreneurship or solopreneurship, and they experience a great deal of isolation and loneliness. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to ask yourself, how good am I at making decisions by myself? How good am I after I have taken all the counsel from other people, sitting down and making a cold hard decision and having the buck stop with me? How good am I with not having colleagues to talk to on a daily or even weekly or monthly basis? You've got to evaluate what emotional resources do I have that would allow me to function well in a somewhat isolated environment. You may be saying, well, Mo, my calling is going to be that of a CEO. I'm going to have a whole company and a team of people around me. I'm not starting my company from scratch. I'm going into a well-established company, and I'm going to have advisors around me. Yes, the buck will stop with me to some extent, but I got people around me. I'm not going to be isolated. I work with C-suite executives who don't struggle necessarily with that type of isolation, but they sometimes struggle with the isolation of being at the top. You've heard that expression, it's lonely at the top. Some of my CEOs and C-suite executives struggle with that. They also struggle with something that we call imposter syndrome. They're smart, they're hardworking, they're tenacious, they have a vision, but somehow they struggle with the notion that one day they are going to use up all of their runway, and they will make a mistake, they will make a decision, they will end up in a situation that will reveal that in the end, they were just an imposter. They weren't really qualified to sit in the seat that they're sitting in. So there's an emotional toll that is taken on them because of that fear. Think about what your emotional resources are. Think about how much you can encourage yourself. Think about how good you are at bouncing back? How resilient are you? All of those things factor in to the longevity of you staying in that calling. You may be saying, Mo, I'm not going into business. I'm not going to be an entrepreneur or a CEO. I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be an actor. How good are you at criticism? Taking it, that is, not giving it. How good are you at hearing other people opine on your work? How good are you at being criticized, from how you look to what you wear to how you speak? How good are you of having people hide behind the veil of social media and make all kinds of little petty and nasty comments about you? How good are you at rejection, hearing the word no, going on audition after audition, sending in your music or your singing to agent after agent, company after company, but never hearing anything back, or just getting flat out rejections? How resilient are you? You need to think through the emotional demands of the purpose that you are pursuing, and the emotional demands of the various callings that it may take you into. When we look at purpose and calling, it's not separated from who we are as people. We're human beings with thoughts, with feelings, with emotions, with fears, hopes, desires. And you need to be prepared to manage all of that going into the space that you're going into. Are you a people pleaser? Do you need approval? Do you struggle getting along with certain personality types? Are you ready for the emotional demands that your purpose may extract from you? How do I get ready? Depending on what your purpose is, it may look different, but I can give you a few generic things that everyone can do. Number one, pray and ask God to help you to identify those areas of emotional vacuum or emotional deficiencies that you may not even know you have, that He can begin to start speaking to you about, so you can begin to pray about, how do I shore myself up? How do I begin to undergird myself in a way that will sustain me? Then get with people who are doing what you want to do. Get with people who are flowing and moving in the purpose that you want to move in. And ask them questions beyond the obvious. Don't just ask where they went to school, what they studied. Don't just ask them what they did for the first 5 or 10 years of their career. Don't just ask them how they secured venture capital funding. Ask them about some of these hidden areas. Because what you want to do when you're pursuing purpose is avoid as many landmines as you can. And the emotional landmine of being 6 months, 6 years, or 2 days into your purpose and not being prepared for what you may face can derail you. And I don't want that to happen. I want you off and running, and I want you running strong for the long haul. So take the time to get emotionally prepared for your purpose. I hope this was helpful. Leave me some feedback in the comments, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.